So we are slowly coming to the end of the journey narrative. That's how the Gospel of Luke is being portrayed. It's a journey narrative. It's so slowly coming to an end, which is the end of Jesus. Been preaching all this radical stuff. Like, no, he got killed. However, some of his messages, as we come to the end of the radical narrative, are quite, again, radical. He says, if somebody asks 7 times the forgiveness, you have to forgive them. And before that, we see all this real heart for the poor that we have to have. That's when the disciples think this is impossible. And that's why the response, they say, Lord, increase our faith. If you don't have faith, it's very hard to forgive. It's very hard to forgive at least 1 time. You're asking us to forgive 7 times, Increase our faith. That's when Jesus responds, you only need the size of a mustard seed faith, and it can work in you. So I'll give you a few real life examples. So there's this lady, is a migrant woman, Fijian. She passed through Warwick Church very early morning, I think it's around 5:36. She goes for a walk. And if you have been to Warwick Church, there's a huge crucifix outside of the church, facing the church on the right-hand side. But it's rather big size, and you got steps so you can sit on it. She normally sits there on her walk. And then after a while, she would get up. She would pinch the toe of Jesus who is on the cross. Now, I observed this one day. And the cross is now for restoration. Jesus wants new paint, so he's gone. He's getting some wax done. Sorry. Bit of work on his eyelashes. Anyway. And she came up to me one day and said, I'm upset. Where is Jesus? I said, oh, he's getting painted. But it was very profound what she told me, even though she's not a Christian. She said, I come, and her husband has a serious Parkinson issue. I come and I sit here. I get very tired of life. She lives still a rental property and everything. And she sits. She said something very remarkable. She said something, I sit here with my burdens and heavy heart, and I will only leave when the tempo of my heart matches the steady rhythm of the Lord on the cross. When her heart is so racing, she sits at the foot of the cross as long as until it takes to match her heart and the heart of the Lord on the cross. I don't know what is the pace of the heart of the Lord on the cross. But it almost like what one of the saint, I forgot his name, Brother Lawrence, in the book called The Presence of God, he says it's almost like a terrified rabbit, but we place the hands on the rabbit and the rabbit slows down. That's how God's love works in our lives. On a pacing heart, God puts his gentle hand until it finds its rhythm again. So that's one. That is the size of the mustard seed. Another story is Reese. Reese works at the Gap on the way to Brisbane. He's a lollipop man. Slow, stop, slow. He saw this church one day, Warwick Church. He walked in. And it was 8:30 in the morning. It was mass happening, and I was preaching. Anyway, Reese, something was happening in Reese, and Reese stopped. And I don't know what I was preaching, but it touched him. And the whole singing was very anointed. There was something happening in the church. You feel it. And he stayed back. And as soon as you see a young person, Hayden must have felt it this morning. I ran to them. Anyway, I said to Reese, why don't you come to this youth group on Wednesdays? We'll have fun. He came back to Mass and to the youth group. At the end of the youth group, he was like, I think I found something that I was looking for. It's just really touching my heart. These are the language of someone who has no language of religion. So that's the size of a mustard seed. Then, story of Tommy. Tommy is a diesel mechanic apprentice. He's he's supposed to be in year 11, but no. So he's got a friend who moved from Sunshine Coast to being an apprentice in Warwick. Friends. Tommy comes to church, and this friend is going through a bit of struggle and challenges in life, and he doesn't sleep well. So being a Christian guy, he went to Tom, and Tom said, I'm struggling. I don't know what to, or just issues with family and it affecting the sleep. Tom said to this guy, why don't you Google a prayer? I was like, that's probably the Gen Z language. I don't know how to pray. Just Google a prayer. Ask ChatGPT. Write a prayer for you. Anyway, well, this guy Googled a prayer, and then Tommy said to me, the guy slept well that night. Then I said to Tommy, well, bring him to the youth. And he came. Now, that is the size of a mustard seed. That's the size of a mustard seed. But what is also important is the soil. It's the soil. The Lord is turning the soil, but sometimes it's hard. We need to be real smart farmers. Real smart farmers. Just wait for that soil to crack. Maybe we have to push the seed in, or we might use poke it and push it in. There's things happening in people's lives where the soil is getting disturbed. Sometimes it's the distraction that doesn't let the seed grow in. So let's be very hopeful of the power of the seed. And as farmers, what we can do is to be present, maybe to a little nudge, maybe a ChatGPT, maybe a Google search, maybe a gentle nudge for them to let the seed of faith grow in them. But it also applies to us, how much we allow the seed to take root within us. That's the challenge, which is personally for me as well. How much I allow the Lord to work within me, grow within me, and then others can have shade and rest because I trusted the seed, allowed the seed to grow. So I encourage you and I challenge myself. How sensitive are we to the people's lives? Especially the best soil is when there is hardship. So if the stories I said, 3 stories, Reese, the lady and the cross, that's what I wrote in the bulletin this morning, and Tommy's friend, something is going through hardship, struggle, pain, anxiety, stress. This is the best soil for the Lord. The Lord doesn't grow in comfortable hearts. This is a soil they can hear the voice of God. Just like any simple lines of faith. Lord, when you come to kingdom, please remember me. The soil is really soft because of life experience. If I touch your cloak, size of a mustard seed, I will be healed. The soil is really needing help because of struggles. I'm not ready, you should come into my house. Say a word, my servant shall be healed. The soil is ready with challenges in life. Let us be grateful for our faith. And let us be grateful that we are able to minister that faith to others. Amen.